You know, there's a lot of opportunities out there. We talked about the urban setting and what's being contributed through some of the runoff going on in the city. Something as simple as putting in a rain garden or working with some, you know, collecting rainwater when it comes off is key too. Rain barrels, things like this that may stop some of that water from moving off the surface of your lawn and into areas like the streets where they can go right into the sewer systems. But impervious surfaces are sometimes put in on parking lots and areas that also slow water down. So backyard conservation. If you've got some ideas or you'd like to have me come out and look at your backyard, look at your property just to see where you may have water leaving the property. And, you might have something that can help you kind of sustain that a little bit, keep the water from moving off. A couple other programs that are out there too that I don't have a slide for is the CREP program. CREP is Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program. And then we have another one called EQIP, Environmental Quality Incentive Program. These two programs are really targeted programs towards water quality type practices, wetlands in particular, sediment basins, maybe waterways and terraces, things like this that maybe we could help landowners. If you're a producer and you're interested in putting a retention pond in or something like this could be you know, something of an idea that would be out there that would be helpful. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to talk to anybody and give me a call at any time.
In general, our watershed area is primarily agricultural. From your perspective, would you give this area an A, B, C, or D grade, and what's the potential for in the future? Correct.
You mean a grade for the
practices that you offer, and that sort of thing, what we have right now?
Well, I think that Lane maybe answered that. Maybe I think that you've got some conservation practices out there that are kind of working, but there's always room for more. And there may be some targeted areas that are popular that perhaps maybe that would be where the sediment is really moving around that we need to target. But I don't know, Lane, do you have anything that you can put a figure on or a grade, so to speak?
Well, I mean, just going off the top of my head, I'd probably say it's in a condition C area right now and stuff. I mean, it's about average as far as watersheds go and stuff. There's some conservation, there's some good parts of the watershed that have had a lot of conservation treatment with terraces and waterways and some filter strip type areas, but there's also spots in the watershed that don't have a lot of treatment that's been done yet and stuff. So we're always looking for opportunities for folks to come in and apply for our programs and invite us onto their land, because all of our programs, as Kathy may have mentioned, are all voluntary. So, you know, we need some producer buy-in to the program and an invitation to come out, look at their land, and you know, we can give them, explain the programs in a lot more detail, specific to their land, give them cost estimates for the programs to explain what the programs will pay and what their cost to install practices and stuff will be. And all of that's just like what Kathy mentioned at the beginning, all of that at no cost to the individuals, because your tax money has got our jobs in place and stuff, and we're there for you to benefit the land and your property. So,
well, to add to that,
kind of touches on your.
Just to add to that a minute too, we have DNR staff out here that are close by that may be neighbors. You may have land that my mom. We got John McClary used to be a private biologist specialist, so he's well versed in some of these programs. Fisheries staff as well could answer some questions about some of the programs in general. So,
Kathy, is there any possibility we can get you to go out and contact these farmers and advise them, talk to them, especially when you see a piece of land or a section that has not good practices on it, you can go out?
oh, that's a possibility.
And sell the program to them?
I think all of these programs are voluntary, and I think that What we've seen happen in some of the other, watershed projects that we have is you get a few landowners that are doing some conservation, and their neighbors start to see it, and they start to kind of think, well, I think maybe I'll do that on my farm as well. There could be a targeted mailings that could go out with a list of the programs and what is maybe available right now, and giving maybe a scenario of what maybe the soil rental rates are in a certain area. A lot of times the landowner sees on paper, what that bottom line is, and they calculate that into their operation. And sometimes just talking about a program, they have no clue what this might pay them. And so, sending out a mailing with maybe an example or something that would be anonymous.
Operation is extension service. Is that a possibility?
And that's, we'll talk a little bit about that when Ben and I get up here shortly. But yeah, that's where we want to go with it, Jim. We want to get a group together to where we can either work with our urban folks or our landowners, and you have a variety of folks in the watershed because there's probably 50% are absentee landowners, which means they don't live in the watershed, they just own the land. So you have a tenant that's farming it, and the tenant is there just really to make money, right? And so they don't have necessarily all the incentives to do the practices, and so you need to work with the landowner, and a lot of times they aren't even in the state. But that's part of the goal, that we're going to work with them. We're going to figure out how to get to them and explain it to them. But ultimately, like Lane was saying, it's voluntary. We can't force them to do anything on their land. We can just hope to educate them and show them the value of what they might change, how it might affect and impact the lake itself and everyone around it, and then hope that they take part. Now, the NRCS and the Soil and Water Conservation District, they do all these practices. Like Lane said, they'll come out and do that, and that's their job. The Soil and Water Conservation District, they manage the cost share money that goes along with that. And so a lot of our projects right now, say somebody needed to put in a waterway, there's cost share up to 50% right now to fund that, but they still have to come up with 50% of the dollars. Now, hopefully through this whole process, we might even make that a little bit more attractive to them, but that's what we'll decide as a group here in the next year probably, when we write some of the grants and some of the practices. Well, thank you, Kathy.
Sure.